Travel to Alaska with us, Day 12, Part 2. We hadn't forgotten about those hot springs, so we kept moving northward. Did you see the moose? Jeanette and I were driving together, and we were gratified to see an animal that Nevin did not see in the vehicle ahead. We had to stop at this lake. It was absolutely gorgeous. Nevin's had to get a family picture in front of it. Cassia had to collect a rock. Miss Letitia had to take lots of pictures. And Trent collected a piece of driftwood, which he insists that he's going to take on the airplane with us back home to PA. This was a much needed break in the driving. But eventually we gathered up all of our collectibles and headed back towards our vehicles. We climbed in and got back on the road. I was absolutely amazed how this road wound along beside the lake for a long distance. Nobody can get bored when they have such beautiful scenery to drive alongside. We were thrilled to find a mountain goat, but we don't think he was thrilled to find us. That morning, we had special prayer before we left camp. We had asked the Lord to protect the sale of Nevin's house back in Vermont, and the second thing we had asked for was that we could see a lot of wildlife that day. The Lord answered both prayers. What are the chances that you would see a bison right beside the sign? I had no idea that there were wild herds of native bison in this area. We were delighted to stop and watch this grizzly do his thing for a bit. We hadn't gone far at all before we saw a black bear scuttling up the mountain and into the bushes. We stopped to watch this herd of bison, but this one shaggy fella kept coming straight towards us. We decided to move along. I was intrigued by the many wild roses that were blooming. Finally arrived at the Hot Springs campground. They had an electric fence the whole way around the campground. They had a special place for pedestrians to go through. There were signs everywhere about being careful and on the lookout for wild animals. We had to walk around 700 meters to the hot springs. There were signs everywhere explaining about the hot springs and also about how much the wild animals licked the hot springs. And as we were no longer within the enclosure of the campground, I kept a sharp lookout as I walked to and from those hot springs. The hot springs were amazing. I kind of lost track of how much time we soaked in there. Trent and I took a little swim back around to the end of the springs. Then we tried to see how close we could get to the source. The water was actually boiling where it came out of the ground. Then I headed back to camp. Wait, is this a moose trap? We had to park in the overflow because the campground was full. As I walked to camp, I was a little startled to see a bison close by. But he was eating grass, so I hurried off to a wonderful Mexican supper and off to bed. See you tomorrow.